Hi, this is John Reed. I have literally raided the offices of Conversocial here in Manhattan. I'm with CEO Joshua March. How's it going?
Hey, John. Good to have you here.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to meeting you at some point. We've interacted years ago about we have a shared passion for social customer service, I'd say, but you made a business out of it, so you took
Yeah.
it a lot further than me. So I want to talk a little bit about what the trends are in this area, what you're learning, and maybe argue a little bit about a couple of things that I've been dealing with on social channels lately. But I want to just start with just how you guys are doing because a few years ago, you guys were all the rage. You were like a cool company in Gartner and stuff. You doing well?
Yeah, it's a really exciting time for us. And we first got funding in mid 2011, and at the time, no one else was talking about social customer service. In fact, social customer service wasn't even a phrase, and we helped create that phrase because we really believed that it was fundamental that every company had to be delivering service to their customers through these new social and mobile channels. And we really spent, a couple of years beating the drum about it.
Yeah.
And, like you said, there was this kind of a couple of years or a little while in the wilderness when no one really knew what we were on about and everyone just cared about social marketing.
Right.
And then there's kind of a splurge activity of being the kind of cool thing that people are excited about.
You guys were the fashion for a while.
Exactly. Yeah, but what's great now is that now it's all about real business. This has become something that's really, really serious.
Yeah.
We have customers, Fortune 500 customers who literally have hundreds of agents just doing social customer service.
Right.
And if you look at the market today, there's been this big swing away from the kind of all-in-one social media management suites trying to do everything possible social to companies realizing that social needs to be a really deeply integrated part of how they do customer service.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that was when I was thinking about you guys. I was like, I wonder if that's going to be a threat to Conversocial because after you guys sort of faded a little bit as the fashionable company, like it all goes in cycles, right? Then it was all about the suite, right? And the suites are going to solve all our marketing suites will solve everything, And I was wondering, is that going to be an advantage for you guys? Like, can you compete against that, or are they swallowing you up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, last year I'd say was definitely the year of the suites.
Right.
They were kind of all the rage, and CMOs were being sold on this vision that they could buy one tool that would do everything social and everything they need.
Yeah.
And I think now the reality has kind of come home and come back to bite them a little bit, because the truth is, the needs of a marketing department are very different to the needs of a large enterprise contact center.
Right.
And trying to build one vanilla social tool that does everything just hasn't worked. And what we've seen is a lot of companies have realized that and have been gone through some painful experiences trying to handle large scale service through these tools that just aren't built for customer service. The analysts are now pretty strongly coming out in favor of best of breed solutions. You see Forrester releasing a number of reports, saying that the all-in-one social suites just haven't lived up to the hype.
Yeah.
And they're now recommending to all clients that they buy point solutions and best of breed in the different areas instead.
Nice. It's a nice message for you guys.
It's
huh?
it's a great message for us. And so we're really seeing a pretty big kind of tidal shift in the market towards our vision, really. And it's the same vision that we've been pushing and talking about for a number of years. So it's great to see everyone else getting on board.
Right. And from the service perspective, I think I have I'm kind of have this love-hate thing going with social customer service because I love the idea of it. And I can remember a few times where it really worked out well for me, but then so many times I feel like I've had bad social customer service experiences. I mean, it's funny because before this podcast, I was just going through a list of companies I'd harassed socially. And I was thinking about from our first debates and conversations you and I would have on email about this. And the one thing I've noticed that I could be wrong about this, but I'm under the impression now that companies, they don't always solve my problem. In fact, sometimes I think they're downright shitty at it. But I feel like they have a better idea of who I am. Like when I first started complaining on Twitter years ago, it just seemed like it was always like, who is this nut job or whatever. But now I feel like they're checking my cloud score or the cloudization of service or something where they have some tool like that, some type of influence or assessment tool, because I can tell sometimes when they're they're definitely going over backwards to try to make me happy. They don't always know how to. Are you seeing that? Are companies getting smarter about how to prioritize, like, who to respond to and what's important? And
Yeah, I think it's probably a factor of a few things. Yes, definitely companies are paying attention to that kind of thing. If someone has a really high clout score or a high follower score, they're making sure that maybe a more experienced agent is looking at it or it's getting prioritized.
Yeah.
But I also think that it's a factor of just companies paying more attention to this in general.
Okay.
And more and more companies having real service agents, prioritizing service issues in general, ensuring they're really trying to reach out and help people regardless of clout score. So I think it's probably both of those things coming together.
I feel like I have too many service experiences, and this isn't just on social channels, but for our conversation where people are super, super nice to me and super polite and responsive, but they don't actually finish the conversation. I had one, I guess you could say, good experience with Hootsuite. It wasn't so good, but they pretty quickly figured out what I needed, and they told me that it wasn't available. So I was annoyed, but they were clear, and that was good because at least I got a resolution. I had some other experiences with Intuit where I just felt like the people that were interacting with me were not competent experts able to solve my problems. They didn't even understand the version of the software I was using. And I just felt like, I don't need you to be nice to me. I mean, sure, that's nice to be polite, but I'm really looking for competency. I would take someone grouchy who could solve my problem. I mean, where are we with this stuff? Like, is it possible to resolve these things? And
yeah, I'd say if you look at the market today, it's hard to have exact numbers, but I'd probably split it into three. A third of companies still just aren't doing anything. Or they still view social purely as a marketing tool.
Right.
And they're publishing stuff out. They're not even really responding. A third of the market are doing what you just described. They have people on there who are maybe the marketing team or interns, who are responding to customers, but they're not able to actually resolve your issue. And then there's a third of the market that have realized that this is a legitimate, important service channel and have real customer service agents in the contact center plugged into their CRM systems and their EPOS systems who are able to not just respond, but to fully actually resolve real issues.
Right. And so in the sense of like your software, for example, it seems to me like your software can only reach its true potential if they're putting the right people to work on it. Because if you gave your software, I don't care how great it is, to some of the people I've dealt with on some of these social channels, I don't know that the experience would be that much better.
Yeah,
I'm assuming that it's not just software, right? It's some sense of advisory on how to do this that you're bringing to the table.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's a number of things in there. Obviously, with the software itself, we do a lot of investment in how can we help companies deliver that real resolution in terms of threading between public and private, tracking real issues and escalation and resolution rates. So part of it is in the software itself, but as you say, it still needs people to do it. And there's a couple of things in there. We try and do a tremendous amount of thought leadership, webinars, blogs, guides. We have our definitive guide to social customer service, which we've been doing a number of years now. And we also have a consultancy and services team. Okay. And we'll actually work with companies right from scratch and help them build these teams. And we worked with a major cable company recently. I won't mention their name, but they realized the importance of this, but also realized that they didn't have anyone who could help them do it. Right. And as part of our solution, our services team actually went in there, helped them develop their own guide for how they do it, helped them hire agents, both externally and internally, who could be part of the social team, and helped actually then train those agents. So actually help them go from kind of zero to hero. Which is we don't
zero
have,
to hero. I like
we don't
it.
have to do to every company, but we do help a lot of our customers do that.
I like that. I think we might need to brand that into a training program. That's beautiful. Then there's this whole thing around that you really intrigued me about before we started taping, where you said that you believe that full resolution it should be the result from social customer service. And I've never really thought of it that way. I've always thought of it much more, I mean, obviously simple things like Comcast confirming there's an outage in my area, sure. But like with more complex stuff, I've always thought you'd have to take it to a different channel. But you don't feel that way.
No, definitely not. I mean, look, it's a terrible customer experience to have to shift channel.
Yeah.
Especially if it ends up losing data or losing the same agent you're speaking to.
Right.
Here's a fact: almost everyone today is on a smartphone. A lot of these service interactions are being initiated from a smartphone.
Right.
Email sucks.
Right.
In general.
Yeah. Totally.
Live chat doesn't really work.
Right.
Social is extremely efficient, extremely easy for the consumer and the agent. A lot of people don't want to have to shift to a phone call and sit on hold or sit on phone for a long time.
Yeah.
If you've got someone on social, even if you need to move to private message, you can do that really easily. There's now no character limits on Twitter DMs.
You made that point. I think that's a really important point,
Huge,
actually.
right?
Yeah.
It basically means anything you can do over text, you can do over Twitter. There's no limits. With Facebook's new Messenger for Business, it's not only private, but they're also building in presence management, live chat functionality. So you can move something to private and do anything you could do over any of those other channels.
And also, Twitter's changed its messaging permissions on direct messages a little bit to make it easier for people to message when you're not following and stuff.
Exactly.
Which also takes
makes it super simple.
More friction out of it as opposed to like, follow me and blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, completely. So there's none of that hassle.
Yeah.
And we have major Fortune 500 clients, telco and other things who have authorized their agents to take private information. Account info, addresses, phone numbers over DMs.
Okay.
So there's really no excuse to delivering full resolution unless
so when you work with
willing.
So when you work with your customers, that's really what you guys are talking about is let's not just identify problems socially, but completely resolve them socially. That's 100%. The goal. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And they're tracking that and managing that within your software then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't tell you I was going to ask you, but just one quick question around that. I totally get the best of breed type of thing as far as why you would need to specialize in service to understand it. But are you also getting questions around integration? Because obviously you're capturing some really valuable data there.
Yeah, so we think integration is really important.
Yeah.
So we have not just a full API platform, but also an integrations team. We actually build integrations with our client systems. There's a number of different integrations we have live. One of the kind of key ones that we try and get all of our clients to do is on the CRM and the customer data layer. We're building up in Conversocial pretty impressive profiles of customer information, both what we pull from the social platforms, also what agents are entering manually. Right. We can build connectors into the CRM system so that the agent asks for the email address. Once we have that, we can then create a link with the customer record, pull information back into the system. So sharing that data two ways, getting that single view of the customer, that's kind of number one. Two is escalation into other teams. Right. So if you have a specific team that handles like refunds, for example, and the social agents need to escalate to that team to complete a refund, and that's in like an Oracle Right Now system, for example. Yep. We can build that integration so that the social agent can escalate the case without having to leave Conversocial.
Gotcha.
And then one final on the integration, we can even build completely custom ones. So we have a client who's a fast-growing e-commerce retailer, and we built a custom integration with their back-end system so that once the agent has asked for their account number or email, whatever it is to match up the accounts, we then put in additional items into the UI that allow the agent to issue refunds, send new products, do everything they could in the backend system within Conversocial.
Yep.
And we view those as pretty fundamental.
Great. Well, I think that's a good stopping point for, I have some listeners who prefer a short podcast. I think that's a good stopping point. By the way, listeners, if you're wondering if there's some kind of financial or promotional reason behind this, no, I crash these offices just because I think this stuff is interesting, and I hope you do too. No money has changed hands. We're just here having a good time talking about this stuff. So let's take a break. And those of you who want to continue on, I'm going to rejoin Joshua. We're going to talk a little bit deeper into his customer experiences. Thanks for joining.